Okay, today we will see some more interview questions. You can note it down. Okay, just I told yesterday, but I am putting on to document today. So this is also one more famous interview question, a very important interview question. What are the different conditions that a method gets terminated? Okay, there are three conditions for which a method gets terminated. See this. Generally, you have written methods, class hello. You will be having a method. Okay, in this method you will have some statements. Till now, what is the flow you have seen is, now main method, we will call that method hello h is equal to new hello, it will call it h dot m1. So till, what was happening till now? Till m1 completed execution, main was not executing because it was on the stack. Okay, main called m1 means m1 calls onto the stack of what? Main. So this is how it will be loaded now. First main method will be there, on top of main what will be there? M1 will be there. So until and unless M1 completes execution, main method will not execute. So all the lines were getting executed. This was the normal flow you have seen. You had never seen a method getting terminated till now. Okay, but means method getting terminated means stops execution. So M1 was completely executing, but sometimes there are conditions where M1 method stops execution. There are three reasons why this M1 method can stop execution. One of the reason would be return keyword. Other reason would be an exception occurs. The third reason would be if you use system.exit. So in this M1 method, supposing if I use a return keyword, what happens? It will terminate. And control will come to which line? To the calling line. Control is immediately shifted to the caller. Method terminates. And control will come back to the caller method. From calling method it will come back to caller method. Supposingly an exception occurs. This is the first condition. Second condition would be an exception occurs. Okay, where is the control coming now? Huh? If I have written try, if I have written here try, and if I have written catch, exception E, control will not come to what? To this line now. It will come to the catch block. So return will come to the same line, calling line. Catch will come to caller. These statements are skipped. But if return happened, this statement should have got executed. Okay, so this is one condition. The third condition would be system.exit. System.exit will not terminate the method. It will terminate the entire program. So return and exception are terminating only M1 method. But system.exit will terminate the full program. So understood, huh? That's the difference. Okay, so this is a very important equation and you should know how the control shifts, from where to where it shifts. Clear this? So any questions here? So this is also one more very important interview question. And you should know how to take control now. You'll be calling a method. Immediately what will happen? The control means the method stops execution and immediately control will come back to you. And you should know how to control it now. It depends whether you have used return and the control is coming back to you, or whether you have used, means whether an exception is occurring and control is coming back to you. Based on that, you should know how to handle the flow now. Understood? Are you clear with this? Yesterday we discussed a lot on this. Still more examples I will give you today. Okay, these are all theoretical. Again, to understand what you need, examples only. Any concept, we need an example. So this is the same thing what I have discussed. See here, return keyword. Control returns to what? Calling line of the caller. Exception occurs. Control returns to what? Catch block of the caller. System.exit. Program terminates. Same thing what we have discussed. I just wrote it for you. Clear this? Any questions? Okay. So now again we'll go back to finally and complete it today. See this, when you're writing a method now, this is how you write a method. See this, void M1. Very clearly you start getting the idea of how to write methods. Still you are not perfect. Gradually you start getting the idea about how to write methods. Very gradually. So void M1, see this. Try. Now in the try block, what you do, see I told yesterday, in the try block generally what we do? We initialize the resource, we use the resource. Yes or no? See why finally becomes mandatory now. Just see this now. I'm completing finally now. Okay. So see this. You have to initialize the resource. What do you mean by a resource? Anything. It can be a database connection, it can be a file connection, anything. You will initialize the resource. Then you will use the resource. Yes, you are left with what? Closing the resource. If why finally becomes important, you notice. Okay. So see this happens. I'll write catch. And in catch block, what I'll do is I can catch, but see again, after catching it, you have to do one more thing. Because see here, this is the place where an exception can occur. Exception can occur. If an exception occurs here, what will happen? You are called M1. It has got the resource. You are using the resource. When you are using the resource, exception occurs. So you are closing the resource, will not execute now. So you should not leave the resource open. So that's the reason what you should do. You should close. If you are not using finally, see this is the headache. You have to write the code to what? Close the resource where? You have to write the code to close the resource again where? In catch block also. Because see, if an exception occurs, control is shifted to catch, you have to close the resource. If an exception doesn't occur, in try block only you have to close the resource. So this is duplication of code. Understood? See, this is code duplication. You are writing the same code here, same code here. Forget one exception. Supposingly if there are multiple exceptions, like my exception, means exception, I'll tell arithmetic exception, or catch, means you'll be handling one try can have multiple catch now. Okay, just I'll write as exception 1, exception 2. This is not a class name, simply I'm telling exception 1, exception 2. So everywhere you have to write what? Close the resource, close the resource. So isn't this code duplication? So instead of this, what we do, we will not write the close the resource everywhere. What we'll do? We'll simply put it in finally one place. Close the resource. So this is the ideal way of writing. So this is the best. Do not do this, because it's only about code redundancy. You're writing the same code again and again. So that is why we use finally. Are you clear with this now? So whatever happens, see, and while coding the logic, you might have used return keyword. While coding the logic, you might have used return keyword. Okay, whatever the condition, finally gets executed here now. Okay, so do not close the resource where in try block also, catch block also, because again and again you'll have to do it everywhere. Okay, always best is to close the resource where? Finally. So when you start writing logics, or when slowly, see, we are learning language now. You are going to use the language to develop an application. Finally, we are going to see how to develop an application. When you are developing an application, all these points will become very clear to you. All this you will understand only when you develop an application. This is theoretically what you are studying, what a language is giving the support for the developer. And all this, when you are coding an application, you have to implement your code using all these things. So means if you want to code an application, all these things are mandatory to understand. And I'll show you very clearly when you develop an application, how you use all this. Very clearly I'll be showing you. Are you clear with all this? Okay, because we have to deal with resources here, and many of you don't know database here. So obviously I can't teach you. So once I complete database, then I can show you all these concepts. Clear now? Okay, fine. Shall I close all this now? Okay, so this completes finally. This completes, so finally now, next we'll go to the next topic. Do you have any questions here? So now we'll go to the next keyword called as throws. One more keyword related to what? Exception handling. So the next keyword what you'll be seeing now is throws. It is also one keyword actually. Basically it's a keyword in Java related to what? Exception handling. It's also one keyword now. So let's see how to use this keyword for doing exception handling. It's a very simple keyword. Understood? See, for understanding throws keyword, before we proceed to throws keyword, you have to understand one more point here. You know, all your exceptions are classified into two categories. Which are they? Exceptions are classified into two categories. Exceptions. Checked and unchecked exceptions. I had classified. You remember that? One hierarchy I had given to you. Okay, I had classified checked and unchecked exceptions. Okay. So what are checked exceptions? All exceptions classes, all exception classes which are subclass of what? Class exception, okay, is called as checked exception. All exceptions which are subclass of exception are called as checked exceptions. All exceptions which are subclass of runtime exceptions are called as unchecked exceptions. I told you this point. Yes? You can see this hierarchy. This was the hierarchy I am discussing. So these are classes which are direct subclass of what? Exception. Okay. See, runtime exception is also subclass of exception. I agree. But again, you can see some are indirect subclasses we say. Indirect means they are extending runtime. Runtime is extending exception. So classes which are subclass of exception are called as what? Exception, a checked exception. Classes which are subclass of runtime exception are called as unchecked exception. To understand throws keywords, this is all essential. Understood? Classes which are subclass of exception are called as checked exceptions. So all these, which are there? These are all called as what? Checked exceptions. Why they are called as checked? Because they are subclass of exception. There are more reasons, I'll tell you. Okay. But classes which are subclass of runtime exception are called as what? These three. Unchecked. This is the story. Clear? Okay. But finally, if you say exception is the superclass of all exceptions now. So that's what we say, it's the mother of all exceptions. Class exception is the superclass of all exception. Understand the hierarchy tree first. Then things will become easy. Inheritance, you know, no. Java inheritance, what is there? Very simple it is, correct? Class B extends A extends C, correct? So that's what is inheritance. So you're very good in inheritance. So no doubt about that. So you should be very clear with what? This inheritance tree now, hierarchy tree. It's all about inheritance. This extending that, that extending this. Correct? Always when I ask you inheritance, what is the answer you give? Cheetah extends animal, animal extends dog. Those kind of answers, forget it now. Practically start seeing inheritance. Understood? So this is how the hierarchy is. Fine. Now, this is the story here. But this exception is the superclass of all exception. Okay. Now till now we have worked with what? Unchecked exceptions only. Which are the one I worked? Till now as we used two exceptions. Slowly I'll be moving into what? Checked also. I'll be giving you plenty of examples on checked examples, checked exceptions also. But till now we have worked with only runtime exceptions. Okay, fine. Now let's see what is which one? Unchecked exception. I mean, let's see what is throws keyword. Let's see what is throws keyword. Definite interview question, huh? The interview is not going to be complete without this. Which one? What is throws? Throw. Understood. Definite interview questions. So what happens here is there is some simple class and simple method. Check this out now. Observe the flow, how it is working. PSVM. I'll say A is equal to new A. Then I'll call A dot M1. Just see the flow, and I'll send the values 10 and 2. I'm sending the arguments as what? 10 and 2. Correct values will go. So program starts execution. Okay, so when the demo starts execution, main method starts execution, it will create an object of A. After creating an object of A, it is calling M1 method. When it's calling M1, what are the arguments it's sending? 10 and 2. It is sending 2 arguments. So M1 will execute. So the value of 10 is given to X, the value of 2 is given to Y. So once it is given, P will be calculated. It will be what? 5. And fine. The program completes successfully. SOP begin main also will execute. SOP end main, everything here gets executed, no termination. Yes or no? Neither is M1 terminated nor is main terminated. Understood? But by chance if I send 0, what happens? See the normal flow. Main method has started, this line executes, this line executes, this line executes, it's executing. Control shifts there, M1 is executing, exception occurs. So which method is terminated first? M1 method terminates first because an exception occurs. So immediately control will come to the, means first, as soon as the exception occurs, it checks, are you handling the exception here? No, if you are not handling, means are you writing try catch? Or it checks, have you written an exception handler? It checks, have you written an exception handler? Exception handler means what? Catch block. It checks, have you written it? We are not written. So immediately what happens? If an exception occurs, control will come back to call. But method got terminated now. Method has got stopped execution. So it will come back to caller. Here what happens? You are not handling here also. Now it checks, are you handling here? Yes or no? See the normal flow. You are not handling it here also. So what happens? It will go to the caller. Like this. But this statement is skipped now. So what are the skip statements? M1 got executed. So this statement stopped execution, means wherever an exception occurs, the statements below that exception is not getting executed. Control will come back. Here, are you handling it? No. So again all the statements below M1 will not get executed. Are you understanding the normal flow? Okay. So if you're not handling like this, it keeps going. From there it comes here, from here it goes there. If M1 terminates, we should not be bothered. But if main terminates, we should be really bothered. Why? Main method terminating means what? Program getting terminated. So if M1, M2 method get terminated, don't bother. But always you should see to that your main method is not terminated, because that is the main method here. Okay, that's the main caller. So what we generally do, if M1 terminates, fine, we handle that problem in the, till now we are doing it. How do you fix the error now? If the exception occurs there, we are doing writing try catcher and we are fixing the error. All that was okay. Are you clear with this? Till now any doubts? This is what you have seen till now. Fine. So now let us come to one point now, discussion. If an exception occurs in the method, where is it occurring? Here. So I am actually talking throws keyword only, but just I give an intro to what is the flow now. So once I gave the flow intro, now see, an exception is occurring here. So once an exception occurs in your method, whatever method, you have two options. What are the two options? You can handle the exception in your same method. You can handle it here only. Okay, or you can give the exception to the caller method. Yes or no? Two options. One, you can handle it here, or you can give the exception to the caller. Yes or no? So how will you handle it inside the same method? By writing try catch. By writing try catch, we will handle the exception in the same method. But many times we prefer to give the exception to the caller method only. Yes or no? Why? Because catching it is not problem. You can write try catch here. You'll write try. You'll write catch. But after catch, how will you fix the error? That becomes a headache. Understood? Because fixing the error is the big issue. So, and fixing the error, you know, it's nothing but what? Re-executing the same logic with proper values. So in catch block, why do you want to write the same logic again? So that's why it's better always we give the exception to the caller itself. Until now it was going implicitly. Till now your exception was going what? Implicitly to the caller. But sometimes, okay, if you want, you can send it explicitly also. How do you send it explicitly now? By using the keyword called as throws. See, I'm using the keyword now. Throws. Which exception? Arithmetic exception. You know which exception is occurring here. So use the keyword. Now where am I using this keyword? At the method line. At the method line I'm using that. Try catch finally I was using where? Inside the method. Throws is getting used where? At the method level. So why am I writing it? Because I want to give the exception to the caller. Okay, same thing happens. Nothing else will happen. Now you might have a question. Till now I was not writing. Till now you are not writing. Same thing was happening. If you write also, same thing will happen. What will happen? Same thing means, if an exception occurs there, it will be given to the caller. It's coming to caller. What should the caller do now? He should write try catch. Understood? So you have to write try catchers. Everything is same. There is no doubt about this. Try. What will you do? You can catch. Write try and write catch. Catch which one? Arithmetic exception. You can catch now. So till now you are not written it. Okay, if you write it also same flow, if you don't write it also same flow. Okay, but question is now why to write? You might have the question. See, the thing is what you have to understand. If in your method, if any unchecked exception occurs, that time you don't have to write what? Throws. It will not force you. Compiler will not force you. But by chance in your method, if checked exception occurs, it will force you to write what? Throws. It will force you. Understood? It will force you. So that is where the difference will come. Okay. So generally But see, now what you have to understand is just one simple thing you have to understand. Throws keyword is used for what? Passing the exception from callee method to caller method. That's it. Okay, and it is mandatory for what? Checked exceptions, and it is not mandatory for unchecked exceptions. That's it. Put it in simple statement. That's it about throws. Okay, are you clear? If you want to give pass the exception, pass means what? Hand over the exception from callee method to caller method. Write throws. That's it. Understood? Because you are not interested to handle it here. There are two options. One, when you have an exception in your method, there are two options. One, you can handle it in the same method or give it to the caller. Two options are there. Okay. If at all you want to give it to the caller, use throws. Now using throws is mandatory. Get this point now. Using throws is mandatory for what? Checked exceptions. Using throws is optional for unchecked exceptions. You don't have to write it. So we'll get more clarity on that subject now. But just understand the point of what now? Throws. Understood? Just understand the point of throws. Throws is used to pass the exception from callee method to caller method. Pass or transfer from callee method to caller method. So here your doubt which will come is what is checked and unchecked. That we'll see next. Right now I am concentrating on what? Throws keyword. Right now I am concentrating on throws keyword. So throws keyword is used to pass the exception from the or transfer the exception from the callee method to caller method. Are you clear with this? So once you pass it, what will the main do? Handle it. Understood? Fine. I'll give one more example. Still more clear it becomes here. I'll write one more class. It's another class now. So I have void M2. It's a very interesting flow. I'll create an array. See, now see the flow. I'm called A is equal to A dot M1. Now what is M1 method going to do? It will say BB is equal to new B. This method will call M2 method now. But to call M2 method, what it should do? Create an object. You create the object and it will call B dot M2 method. SOP and M1. Now what happens? Assuming that I send correct values to the which one? M1 method. See the flow. I am sending correct values this time. 10 into. Values will come. Division will happen. Division will happen here. No problem. Then what happens? It will create an object of B. Then it's what's happening. It's calling M2 method. What will M2 method know? It goes on executing. Here what happens? Exception occurs. As soon as an exception occurs, I can decide to handle it here itself by writing what? Try catch. Or I can give it to the caller. Yes or no? So that time what here till now you are not writing because it was unchecked. Okay, but if it is checked, you have to mandatory write it. So better we start writing it off. Okay, better we start writing it off. So now what I'll do? I want to give this exception to the caller now. Who is the caller of M2? M1. That is very important now. So I'll give it back to the caller. Throws. What will I write? Array, index, out, off, bounds, exception. Valid? I just want to give it to the caller. Now, are you going to handle it here? It is not advisable to handle it in M1 also. Why? It's better to handle it in the main caller. Always what we do is exceptions now we generally throw from lowest layer to the highest layer we say. That's how we do exception handling. If any exception occurs in a method now we throw it from what? Lowest layer to the highest layer. From here I'll throw here. Here also I'll not handle. I'll not handle it in the immediate caller. Always we handle it where? In the main caller. Again I want to give from there to here. So what will I do? Throws. But this method is already throwing an exception. You have written it what? Arithmetic. Here I have already written arithmetic. Yes or no? Because arithmetic also might occur here. And index out of bound also might occur. So what should I do that time? I'll write comma. If I want, you are putting a list now. What are the different exceptions which might come out of M1 method? When you call M1, these are the possible exceptions which might occur. You are putting a list. What are the different possible exceptions which might occur in M1 methods? So arithmetic exception. Sorry, array, index out of bounds exception. Like this, you'll go on writing. So what is the value I sent? 10 and 2. So if you send 10 and 2, see statement goes on executing. Here it comes. Here the exception object is created. Which one? Array index out of bounds. So what are you doing? Giving it to the caller. So it will come here. Okay. But again, are you handling it here? No. So this statement will be skipped. Which one? End M1 will skip. Again it will come back to caller. Because you are writing throws. You did not handle it there. Again you get back to the caller. Where? Here. Here you should handle. If you don't handle, what will happen? This method also will terminate. And we should not allow main method to be terminated. M1 terminates fine. M2 terminates fine. But we should not allow the main method to terminate. If you don't handle it, what will happen? Now catch. Can arithmetic exception handle it? See, this statement is skipped. But can arithmetic exception handle it? No. So what will happen now? It will go outside and your program will terminate. Since I do not want that to happen, that is why I will put here catch array index out of bounds exception. Like this we go on handling the exception. So from there it comes, from M2 it comes to M1, from M1 it comes to main. Main I'll catch, because if you don't catch it here also, program is going to terminate. But how did I bring the exception from this method to that method? By writing throws, that you observe. Till now it was optional, but later on it will become mandatory. Understood? When you are having exceptions are of type checked exceptions, it will become mandatory. Okay. So it's better you write. Which one? Whatever the exception is going to come from your method, you write it off. Because the caller of your method, what will he do? He'll know what try catch to put there. Because I'll write this method down. Once I write this method, you will be using my method. Means somebody will write a method, somebody will be using it. So when I write it off like this, it becomes very clear for you. Oh, if this method is called, might be there's a possible chance of this exception occurring. So what will I do now? I'll put off catch block immediately. Understood? So this is an indication now. The throws list is an indication to the caller. Who is going to call that method? It's an indication to them. Okay, this exception might occur in this method. So better you write try catch. So now carefully they go on writing what? Try catch, they'll go on writing. I'll show you practically all this. So this is the mechanism what we use for doing exception handling. All this you'll be seeing, live you'll be seeing very clearly. Are you clear with this? But what is the summary of throws? Throws is used for throwing an exception from callee method to caller method like this. And there also if you don't handle it will go. Where it will go? JV. And one more. Okay. See here, by chance, I'll not write try catch here also. I'll not write it. Okay. I can write this also. Public static void main throws arithmetic exception comma array index out of bound. Can I write this? Can I write this first question? 100% valid syntax. That's also a method. That method is deciding not to handle it and it wants to give it to the caller. So that syntax is valid, but the problem is what? Program will terminate. But in interview they'll ask you this question. Can I write public static void main throws? Yes, valid. Syntax wise it is valid, but the problem is program will terminate. Because throws is an telling that means what does throws mean? I don't want to handle it, I want to pass it to the caller. Who is the caller of main? JVM. It will give it to JVM. JVM will catch it and print the message. You know what message it prints. But the question was what? Can I write public static void main throws? Yes, it is valid. Are you clear with this? So till now you are not writing. What you are not writing? Public static void main throws. But fact is the same thing was happening implicitly. The same thing was happening implicitly. From M1 it was coming to main now. From main it was going to JVM now. How it was going? The same process it was going. Implicitly it was happening. Okay, are you clear with this? But now we are doing it explicitly. By writing what? Throws. Now we are writing it explicitly by writing throws. Are you comfortable with throws keyword now? We are going to see many examples on this. Just introducing the keyword. What keyword? Throws keyword has been just introduced to you. Understood? So more examples will make you more clearer about this topic. The basics fundamental is what now? Throws keyword is used to pass or transfer the exception from the callee method to caller method. And in fact this concept is known as exception propagation. Exception propagation. So in the interview they'll ask you what is exception propagation? Exception propagation is nothing but what? Passing or transferring the exception from callee method to caller method. That's it. Exception passing question answer is what? Passing exception from Callee method to what? Caller method. Passing, or you write transferring also. Two words we use. Passing or transferring exception from Callee method to caller method is called exception propagation. How do you do it? With the help of throws keyword. So now if now question is very simple. Why do you use throws keyword? For doing exception propagation. Very simple answer now. Why do you use throws keyword? For doing exception propagation. What is exception propagation? Passing the exception from Callee method to caller method. Simple. 2 lines answer. But the 2 lines answer you need an example to understand. That's it. Clear? Shall I clear all this now? We'll see this example. No questions here? Because again I can't write. If I ask, else I'll show it to you. System itself. And sorry, one more thing I forgot. See, by chance if I send wrong value, 10 and 0, what will happen? Here only it terminates. M2 is never called. Yes or no? M2 is never called because the statements are skipped now. That also I understand. That time arithmetic exception. So that is why there are 2 possible. The list is mentioning about what? 2 possible exceptions. But both will not come. One will come. Either one will come. Either arithmetic will come or arrange sort of bound will come. When will arithmetic come? If the exception occurs here. Arithmetic exception object is created, the statements are skipped. When M2 is not called, so where is the question of arranged X out of bound? So you'll have a big list there, but only one exception will come. So for that you'll write multiple catch statements. Multiple catch statements has to be written where? In main method. Understood? And one more interview question is, how did you handle exceptions in your project, they'll ask. Or generally, how do you handle exceptions? Okay, all of you will try catch, that's okay. But when they ask you how do you do exception handling in projects, you should always tell what? A good statement you should give. We always throw exception from lower level to higher levels, and in the highest level, we catch the exception and fix the error. How do you do exception handling in project means? Throw all the exceptions from lowest level to highest level or to the main caller, and in the main caller handle the exception. Clear this? A very important interview question in project wise. So in project I'll be showing you all this. In simple examples we can't understand much of this. As you go on proceeding into projects, there you'll get clear idea about how you do exception handling in your applications. No application is complete without what? Exception handling. Clear? Shall I clear all this? I'll come back to this point. Okay, see this now? Throws, example. I think I have pretty much explained to you. I will only show you the flow now. M1 is there, same code I have written. From here only I wrote it there. M2 is there, same code I wrote. Okay, but only index I have changed. Here it is 6, there I used 9. Anyway, exception occurring. So now I'll send a correct value. What value? 10 and 2. So which exception occurs now? See, A is equal to A.M1, we are sending 10 and 2. All the statements are executed. M2, control shifts to what? M2 method here. In M2, exception occurs in this line. So this statement is not executed. Yes or no? When the statement is not executed, what happens? Exception occurs here. Are you handling it? No, you didn't write try catch. You want to give it to the caller. So that's why what I used. Throws is a keyword. So throws arranged X out of bound. So it will come to what? M1. So M2 has not got executed. Fine. But now this line also will not execute because we are not handling it. So again I want to give it to the caller. So where it will come? Main. So what is main going to do now? Catch. And after catching, you can fix the error. That is secondary. Don't bother about fixing now. So it will come here and it will program did not terminate now. M1, M2 terminate, we don't bother, but program is not getting terminated. We should not bother about method terminations. We should bother about program terminations. We should understand the difference between program termination and method termination. See the clean flow, begin main, then begin try in main, then what? Begin M1, correct? Division has happened. Division has happened. Value of P is BB is equal to new B. Begin M2. Now M2 has been called. So M2 comes here. Begin M2. Fine. But did end M2 print? Did end M1 print? No. Because exception occurred. Directly it came to catch array index out. Correct? It comes here. First it will be tried to handle here. In main it will be tried to be handled by what? In main it will be tried to be handled by first catch. Not handled, then it will go to the next one. Means wherever it matches, there it will be handled. If it is not handled, what will happen? I will comment it. Where it will go? JVM. See here, end main is got successfully executed. But if I remove it, JVM will print the default message. See there. It has gone outside main now. Are you clear? Fine. That's the flow. You understand the flow. Then you can write logics. Now, if you ask me, see, if I am writing this class, if I am writing class A and class B, I am preparing this list. You know why? Because if you are using my class, it's a clear warning. Okay, if you call this method, there's a possible chance that these exceptions might occur. Okay, so better you write try catch for these things. Better you write it. So what will happen now? You can write try catch very easily. Because generally what happens, if I am writing the logic, I am calling the method, I know what try catch to write. See, if I am writing the method and I am only using it, I know what try catch to write. But I write my method, you want to use my logic. How will you know what exceptions might occur in my logic? So that's why I'll put the list on the top. And I'll give it back to the caller. So what I'm trying to do is right now, one is I'm giving an indication to you. What indication? If you call this method, these exceptions might occur. That is one thing. Second thing, observe carefully the design here. You will send arguments to my method. For what you are sending? For logic to get executed. If you send improper values, what will I do? I'll give back the problem to you only. And I'll ask you to send what? Proper values. That is the design side. Understood? So see from both sides. If I have given the indication, send correct values. Otherwise these exceptions will occur. Still if you send wrong values, what will happen? I cannot execute, so I'll give back the problem to you itself. You send proper values. So what will you do? You'll catch it and then you'll send proper values. The statement I'll clearly make you understand with more examples. Are you following now? So any questions here? So what is the summary of throws now? Passing the exception or transferring the exception from callee method to caller method. That's the summary. Okay, fine. Some more interview points now. See, throws. Throws keyword is used what for? It is used at method level to propagate the exception object to the caller method. Yes, that's the main reason. Okay, still we'll continue. See here. Arithmetic exception. Okay, now array index out of bound occurring. Fine. If I send 0, will arithmetic occur or array index out of bound will occur? Arithmetic. And array index out of bound will never occur. Why? M2 has not got executed. And but the list is telling it. Even though you have a big list, always remember that only one exception will come. Either this or that. So see the flow now. Correct? Which one occurred? Arithmetic. Did M2 execute? Begin M1. Begin M1, but value of P has not got executed. Straight away the control comes back to what? Catch arithmetic, end main. Main method is not got terminated. See the flow. Are you clear? So both I have shown you. Yes. One more thing. See this. I will not write try catch. I am not writing try catch. Notice what I will do now. Simply I will run the program. Which exception is occurring now? Arithmetic. Okay, let's see what happens. Since you are not written try catch, it is going to what? JVM. Begin main, try in main, begin M1. That's it. From M1 it came to main, from main it went off. Okay, that is correct. That is normally happening. Implicitly it's happening. Understood? Yeah. It's implicitly happening. To make you very clearly understand, see this. One more thing I will do now. Now what if I don't write throws here? First I'll remove throws where? You might have questions. Okay, first I'll remove throws in M1 method. I'll remove throws here. I'm removing it. So once I remove, first I'll cause which one? Arithmetic exception. Flow is same, doesn't change, but here it has been thrown implicitly. But you have to write it. Why you write? The caller method will be aware now. When I am writing this method, the caller method will be aware. This exception is occurring. So better I have to write try catch. If I don't write, how will you know what to handle? After you see like this, then you have to write what? Try catch. If you don't write, no harm. But the user of your method will have problems in using your method. That's one thing. Fine. So if you don't write also, no harm. Fine. Now see here, I will send a value of 2. So now which exception occurs? Array index not amount. But I will comment that also. So I have not. This was how you are writing normally till now. Till now you are writing the code normally like this only. So see this now again. So we are not writing, but still it is executed successfully and the same process. So it doesn't make any difference. Functionality wise no difference is there. But better you write it because it will highlight to the user. Are you clear? Fine. So I understood whether you write or not, it works. Okay. Next, see this. Here I'll comment. I'll not write try catch. Now what will happen? Same flow will happen. Yes? But you are not catching it in main. Exception is occurring. Correct? If I am interested, I can also write what? As I told you. Public static void main throws valid syntax. Is highly valid syntax. How many exceptions are coming to you? Here also I can write it. It's a method. Any method can write what? Throws. Highly valid. But what is the problem? Main method will terminate. That should not happen. Are you clear? Same result is same. Okay. Till now it was happening implicitly. Now you are explicitly writing throws. That's it. Same result. So, but the interview question, why did I explain you this is? It is asked in interview. Can I write public static void main throws? Yes, valid. Understood? Because syntax wise it is valid. But functionality wise it becomes error. Why? Your main program has got terminated. Understood? So don't do this. Even though it's a valid syntax, don't do this. Always better you, what you do? Handle it in main. Are you clear? Are you clear with all this, sir? Any questions, sir? And if you want, the first example I'll show you which I had done. The first example, the very first example of exception handling. You remember this example? Here also what's happening? If an exception occurs, you're not handling it now. It is going what? JVM. I didn't write throws, but the same thing what happened. See this? To be very precise, you will understand it here now. So anyway, just run the program because you know it will jumble up the output. Yeah? So what was executed? X, Y, Z. These statements got executed, but when the exception occurred here, these statements are not got executed. Correct? See the same output I will show you by writing what? Valid. Doesn't make any difference. Valid syntax now. Why? Because I don't want to handle the exception in the same method. I want to give it to the caller. Fine, write it. But your program will terminate this time. So generally what we do is, we do not write throws in main method. We write it in other methods. Syntax wise it is valid. Are you clear? Any questions with throws now? Any questions with throws? Anything you want to do here or there? Try it out. You will only understand. Clear? And you'll be seeing more examples. Just one example I've shown you. More examples you'll be seeing. Now see this. Throws keyword is used at the method level to propagate the exception object to what? Caller method. Are you understanding the statement? Yes. Next point. When an exception gets created inside a method, we have two options. What are the two options? You can handle it inside the same method by writing try catch, or you can propagate it to the caller method by writing throws. Next. A throws clause lists the type of exception that a method might throw to the caller method. It lists. Okay. Then next, it is mandatory to use throws if the method is throwing what? Checked exceptions. So till now you have worked with unchecked. So that's why it is not making difference to you. Slowly you start using what? Checked, then you'll understand. Yes, the next point I have written it anyway. It is optional to use throws. Okay. If the method is throwing what? Unchecked exception. What are unchecked exceptions? They are subclass of runtime exception to the caller method. In the bracket I have written, it is mandated to use throws if the method is throwing checked. What are checked? Subclasses of exception to the caller method. Understood? Now, what is exception propagation and how do you do it? Exception propagation is a mechanism of transferring or passing the exception from the calling method to caller method. It is done with the help of throws keyword. Interview question. Next, one more interview question would be, how do you do except landing in your project? What would be the answer? I used to throw all the exceptions from lowest layer to and handle it means fixing it, and handle it in the highest layer or the main caller. Highest layer or in the main caller method. That's it. This is the point. Are you clear this? Any questions? So that completes what? Throws keyword. So next we'll move to throw now. Are you clear with throws? Okay, throws is done. So next we'll go to the throw keyword. No questions now? Okay, it will get clearer, don't worry, because these are all just introduction. These are all just introduction. You people thought you know Java. Fact is, you are seeing how much of Java you know. Understood? Keywords only you don't know. On top of that, what you will tell? I know Java, you tell. From where I'll teach now? It's something like, see what I'll tell you. In English, A to Z, how many alphabets are there? 26 alphabets are there. Supposingly, if I tell I know A to Z, but I don't know one letter called as P means, will you tell I know English? What will you tell? You don't know one letter only, means you don't know English. Similarly, you also, how many keywords you know in Java? So that vital it is. Every keyword is so vital. And if you don't know a keyword only, that means that you don't know the language itself. Like these are letters means they are also keywords. In Java they are keywords means they are also very important. Understood? So keywords are mandatory to know. You should know all your keywords. How to use them, where to use them, why to use them. That you should be aware. And still I am continuing to teach you keywords only. So next I'll move to around 50 keywords are there now. Now you want list after today. Nearly I have covered around 40 keywords for you. Still 10 more are pending. So all those keywords are covered means then we have completed the language. Sit and count, you will only come to know. Understood? Nearly all the keywords we have completed. Okay, so next we'll go with what now? Thrown. Clear? So now, sometimes what happens now? There's a huge difference between throw and throws. Understand that. And most of you in interview will tell, throw is singular, throws is plural. Because you are very good in English now. Like that is the answer you give and they'll be laughing at you. Understood? Be clear. So next we'll go with what now? Throw keyword. Okay. So it's completely different from what you are thinking. Clear? So just I told you about it. Now let's see. How do you use throw? See, sometimes developer himself wants to terminate the execution in a method. Who? You. We want to terminate. And if I want to terminate, we know we have two options you know how to use very clearly. How? Return keyword, system.exit. Return keyword if you use, it will terminate the execution in a method. Okay. System.exit, it will kill the program. Okay. But I want to terminate now the execution in a method. Okay. But not by not using these two. In one more way. So Java gives you one more way to terminate the execution in a method. Deliberately. You are going to do it deliberately now. How? You will cause an exception. Who is going to cause the exception? Developer. Deliberately will cause. till now JVM was creating the exception. If division by 0 was happening and all that, who was creating? JVM. Till now it was created implicitly, but now I will create it explicitly. Till now all your exception objects were created implicitly by the JVM. But if you want to create your exception object explicitly, then use the keyword throw. So throw keyword is used to create the exception objects explicitly, and it is created. For what reason you create it? To terminate the execution of method. Now imagine you are only writing your own method and you are only terminating it, means what? Yes, there are reasons for it. You only see now why we do it. See, first of all, see, I want to divide two numbers. Class, 1 second, hi, I'll take class name. I want to divide these two numbers. See, till now you are writing blind code like this. In z is equal to 0, z is equal to x by y. Correct? Huh? You should not write code like this. Before you divide only you check now whether the values are correct or not. Yes or no? Before you divide, it was advisable you check it. If they are wrong values, what you want to do now? Stop the execution. If they are correct values, continue the execution. That is how you have to write logic. So writing logic is also an art. Understood? Because user could have given you any values. So that's why what we do, we should not write logics like this. So how we write C now? See, we write it like this. If x is equal to 0 and y is equal to 0, what will I do? If both are 0, I'll stop the execution. But this time I will not use return. Return will take it to the next line. Now I want to go to the catch block, because it's in catch block what we fix the error. So what I'll do now, see, to stop the execution, I'll say throw new arithmetic exception. You can throw any exception. Here I am throwing on built-in exception. Generally we throw user-defined exceptions. I'll show you what are user-defined exceptions very shortly. Okay, you can create any object here. Okay, but when you say throw new arithmetic exception now, which object gets created now? Arithmetic exception. So remember this throw keyword when you are using now, you should use it only with subclasses of what? Class throwable. Throw new arithmetic exception I am writing now. Throw keyword should be used with only subclasses of class throwable. Don't write throw new class string, throw new class which one? String buffer. They are wrong. Throw new string buffer, throw new system, throw new A, means you have written now your classes. They are all error. So when you use throw keyword, it should be compulsory used with what? Subclasses of class throwable. So anyway, you are creating an object. Okay, so throw new arithmetic exception. Once it is created, what happens? It will not execute. All the statements you write on SOP hello here, will it execute? No. Why it will not execute? Because object has got created, exception object. And once an exception object is created, what you should do? Handle it. Where will I handle it? One in the same method. See this, you can handle it like this. I'll write try and I'll write catch. Arithmetic exception, I can catch it. But catching it is not the problem, you know that. Fixing the error is the problem. Yes or no? Fixing the error becomes the problem. But look at the syntax. Try I have written, throw I have written, catch I have written. If I want to execute something desperately, what will I do? Finally I'll use, look how we are writing the code. Okay, try. Inside try what I am writing? Throw. Then what I am writing? Catch. Why? Because I want to catch the exception. But fine, remember that. You will, when an exception occurs in your method, you will not handle it in the same method. This is one possible way. Okay, instead what we do? We give it to the caller. So how do you give it to the caller? So even though you can do it, we will not do this. Even though you can do all this, you will not be doing this. Fine. So I will remove this. And what I will do? If you want to write execute anything desperately, you put it in try finally. That is secondary. But don't write catch. Anything you want to execute, that you put it in finally. That's not a problem. So try finally will be written here. Throw will be written. But I will not handle it, and instead I will write what? Throws arithmetic exception. Are you understanding how it happens? So try, catch, finally, throw are all used inside the methods. Try, catch, finally, throw. They are all used inside for writing logic. Throws is used where? at the method level. Outside the method it is used. Why it is used? To give the problem to the caller method. Are you following now? So throw is used to deliberately create an exception object. Throw keyword is used to deliberately create an exception object. Why? Because I want to stop the execution. If the values are wrong, stop. Else what will I do? You declare one variable, int p is equal to 0, or write p is equal to x by y. Correct now? See now code executes smoothly. Class demo psvm hello h is equal to new hello. Fine. H dot m1. I'll send two values. What are the two values? 10 and 0 first. 10 and 2 I'll send first time. If you send, see, the values of 10 and 2 are given to x and y. So here, what happens? You're trying to check if they are correct or not. They are what? They are not equal to 0. So which condition executes? Else. But in case if you have written anything inside finally, that will execute. Leave it. Finally will execute. That's not a problem. Leave finally part. Concentrate on what? Throw. So as soon as I send correct values, it will execute. Finally execute. Control will come back to caller. No problem. But by chance, if I send a wrong value, 10 and 0, what happens? Now interesting thing. Throw. What happens? Arithmetic exception object has been created. All the statements are skipped. Control is going to come back to what? Caller. But before coming, what it will do? Finally it will execute. Always before the control returns from callee to caller, remember finally completes execution and then it will come to caller. Understood? So then what happens? You can catch it here. But how did I give it to the caller? By writing throws. So here what I will do? I can write try and I can write catch. See how we are writing? There I wrote try finally. Here I am writing what? Try catch. Carefully observe how I am writing the code. So always majority of the time you will be writing what? Try catch in the main caller only. Not in the immediate caller. You'll be immediate caller means which one? Immediate method. We do not catch it there. We always handle it in the main caller. Correct now? Perfect. So throw keyword is used for what purpose now? Deliberately creating an exception. Why? Because I wanted to stop the execution. Now, by chance, to stop the execution, the other option is what? I will not use throw, because if I use throw, what's happening? Where will control come now? Where will control come now? To the catch block. Yes or no? That is what I wanted. I didn't want the control to come to the next line. I wanted the control to go to what? Catch block. Yes, it's happening. But sometimes, if you see, by chance to terminate, if I use the return keyword, what will happen? It will stop, but it will not fulfill my purpose. If I use return keyword also, it will terminate. But where it will come? To the next line. How will you fix the error? Understood? Sometimes you will only deliberately want to terminate. And you want to terminate, there are three options for you. One is you can use return keyword. Other one is you can cause an exception. Third one is you can say system.exit. System.exit ruled out. Return keyword, this is the problem. So the last pending option is for you what? You create an exception object explicitly. So once you create an exception object explicitly, program will terminate, method will terminate, control comes back to the caller. And in the catch block, now it will move to the catch block. In the catch block, I will re-invoke the method with proper values. Means you are fixing the error. That's nothing but fixing the error. Are you understanding the flow now? So like this it goes on happening. And meanwhile, in between, if you want to execute some code desperately, put it in finally block. Are you following now? So this is how you write logics inside method. A simple division logic is written in this way. For you, writing division is what? One line. Understood? For you, if I ask you to write a logic for division, you write it in what? One single line. What is the line? What is so great about it? P is equal to x by y. But for writing a simple division logic, you have to take this much of care. Because once you write your method will be used by 1,000 people. When they are going to use it, so now they are going to give values to you. Understood? They are going to give values to you, but you should execute it correctly and give it back to them. Answer. Understood? So this process will be there. So always you should write logics in this particular way. As soon as you get the value, first check whether the values are correct or not. If it is correct, then process it. Else, stop the execution, give the control back to them so that they will re-invoke the method with proper values. This is the mechanism. This is the design Java is telling. Which language will give you this design, you tell? Generally you write a logic in C also. Any values can enter. And look, step by step you see how Java has been designed. H dot M1, if I pass 10 and 2.5, will it execute? Compilation error. So error starts from where? So most of the errors they are stopping at compilation time. Why? Because Java is strictly type checked. See the type checking now. So if you try to send wrong value, it will give error at compilation time. But sometimes you are very clever. What will you do? You will give both int only. You have deceived the compiler now. Fine. After deceiving the compiler, what happens? After deceiving the compiler, what happens? Values have entered. But again, what you should do now? You should not divide. You will give it back to the user only. Caller. You will give it back to the caller only by telling what? Hello, mister, you have given wrong value. Please enter correct values. What a mechanism, man. Unbelievable it is. So he will not execute the logic only. If he is giving wrong values at compilation time only, he will reject it. Understood? But in other languages you don't have this facility only. In C what will happen? You keep your parameters, anything it can accept. You keep on pointer, anything it will accept. But here it's not like that. Particularly it will accept that particular value only. First it will say, during compilation time it checks the type of value. Because Java is strictly type checked. During runtime, we check the value, developers. If the value is correct, I'll process it, else I will stop the execution. This is how you actually write the code. I'll show you, built-in library I'll open and show you today. If value is correct, they'll process. Otherwise they will give back. Example, one very good example. You have done it already. Integer dot parse int. What does this do? String s1 is equal to 10. Converts what? String to int. So when it converts, if you pass a string of type which is containing int value, it will convert. Else what will happen? Problem will come back to you by telling what? Number format exception. So who has written parse int method? Java people. They are telling you pass a string value which is of type int. You will send string only, but it should be numerical. Or it will pass, and the return type is what? Int x. See how they write the library. And by chance, if I say hello and pass, what will happen? Exception will occur. Until now you are seeing, you are writing this in class demo, PSVM. Exception was occurring and your program was getting terminated. So you should have written this code in what? Try catch number format exception. So when you start using the library, this is where it becomes very important. So I am teaching you from library point of view, how you use the library. When you call a method, if you are not sending proper values, what will happen? You will start getting what? Exceptions. And you should know how to handle it now. Understood? So this is how it happens in the library. So we'll reach that stage very shortly now, because anyway we are going to start using what now? Libraries only. So till now we work without exception handling and all that. From now it becomes highly mandatory for you to do all that. Okay, so let me complete the throw example first, and then I'll come to what? Which one? Built-in and all I'll show you how it works. Shall I clear all this now? Any questions you're having? See this, there's a class called as hi. Yeah. See, I'm just not writing try finally, just get the concept here. So what I'm writing, if the values are 0, I'll throw the exception. Generally you will not throw arithmetic exception, understand that. You will be throwing what? User defined exceptions. I'll show you that also. If the values are incorrect, you will throw user defined. But whatever it is, it should be a subclass of what? Exception. When you use throw here, it should be a subclass of exception. I'll show you that. Clear? Fine. Next, if the values are 0, it will throw an exception and stop the execution, else you will execute it. Now here, I have to write what? Throws now. Now writing it is optional because it is unchecked. But by chance if this was checked, you have to write what? Mandatory you have to write. Okay, fine. We'll come to that point. Now see, I'm passing 10 and 0. Exception will occur. Then what will I do? I'll re-invoke the method with proper values. Getting it now? Understanding the program? See, begin main, inside catch, you'll catch it. After catching it, what will you do? Again, you'll re-invoke the method with proper values and main method completes execution successful. Clear? So this is how they have designed it. Now if you really want to understand what Java is doing, see this in the library. There are any questions here? I show you in the library what happens. See this. So what is S1? A string. So you got this value. Now somehow you'll get it dynamically. Now I want to convert this to int. So what will I do? Int p is equal to what? Integer dot parse. See, actually the parse int method, you have to pass actually what? String, and the return type is what? Integer. And you can see in the document here, I'll just get on to Google and show you. They write it very neatly and clearly. In fact, number format exception is an unchecked exception. It's an unchecked exception. Clear? See this? Parse int, no? See this. Parse int. Click here. This method we are using. It clearly tells it's public, it's static, the return type of this is int, parse int is the method name, string is the argument you have to pass, and if you don't pass the correct value, it throws what? Number format exception. Very clearly it is telling now. Till now, if you have seen this and not understood, start understanding. So now what happens? So right now we are not writing try catch. Why? You're not writing. Fine. So now see this code. Perfectly it will execute. Perfectly, begin main, end main. And if you want, you can print value of p also, or value of p also. Everything will execute here, perfectly. Correct? Now see, I'll make it to hello. Now what happens? These two lines are not executed, check. What happened? Begin main, number format exception. Your program got terminated. So they are asking you to send an argument of type what? String. You send it, but that cannot be converted to int, no? They'll check. If it is of containing numerical values, they'll convert it to int and give you. Else from where they can do it? So they will stop the execution. If your value is correct, they'll process it. Else what they do? They stop the execution and they'll give it back to you. So what are you supposed to do now? Huh? Write this in try catch now. Yes or no? You came to know which problem it is. What is the problem? See, your program got terminated. Java is very clearly telling you why your program got terminated. Why your program got terminated? Number format exception. That is okay. But it is very clearly indicating it is exception. It is not telling it is error. Since it is telling exception, I will decide to handle it. So clearly it classifies. It itself tells you. So I will write it now. What? Number format exception. Then what will I do? This code I can put it now. Where? In try block I will put it. Following now? Sysort whatever you want to print. But actually here you have to ask the user to enter proper values. Yes or no? 1 second. And you will fix the problem here. That's it. Nothing else you will do. Ask the user to give proper values and pass it now. Assume that he gives it. Some value you give, that's your wish. No, it works now. That's how you write. So, but if they are not told you, see, it's unchecked. It is unchecked exception. You can go and see now. See, you want number format exception now. Click here. Click there. What is number format exception? It is subclass of this. It is subclass of what? Finally, runtime exception. Library, you have to understand. You should know how to use your library now. Since number format exception is a subclass of runtime exception, it did not force you to try catch. But there are some methods which will be throwing what? Checked exception. That time will be forced to write what? Try catch. Okay, means if it is coming from callee to you, either you have tried try catch or you have tried throws. It will be forcing you. Okay, so like this they have designed the library. Okay, just I showed you how they designed the library. So be careful. So this is how you can write it now. Integer.parseInt of S2. That's it now. Now will your program terminate? Use it now. You'll get the value. What is the value? Int R is equal to. Yes, now use the value. He has given it. So first time he will not give it. But first time only he gives correctly, catch will not execute. So that is the caller. Who is the caller now? We are the main method is the caller, and who is the callee? ParseInt is the callee. Till now you saw in M1 method, but now which one becomes the callee? ParseInt becomes the callee. So successfully end main. End main is getting executed. See that. So this is the idea. Okay. But if I give a wrong value, where? Here, like string, instead of string, I'll give something like string buffer. I'll give. No, some other thing, like example, I'll write int x is equal to 999. Int x error. Okay. What is the method telling? Pass an argument of type string. If I am giving int, where is the error reported? Compilation time. What beautiful, man. Imagine the design of the language. Unimaginable it is. If you are sending wrong value, it will tell it compilation time. Understood? But still you will give a correct value. But logically it might go wrong. That it will give it back to you only. During runtime it will give it to you. Understood? So like this they have designed the language. It's all about sending proper arguments to proper methods in Java. Finally I am summarizing it. When you are using the library, you are not going to write any logic. All you are going to do is what? Send correct argument to correct methods. And as an engineer, I believe that much you can do. I know you can't write code, but at least you know how to call methods. No. You know how to call methods, huh? You're engineers now. So you should know how to call a method and send correct argument. It will give the correct result to you. That's it, Java is telling. In fact, that is how they have simplified programming today. They are asking you not write the code and they are telling pass correct value. If you are passing correct value, the logic will execute. If you pass incorrect values, they will create an exception, give the problem back to you. You have to reinvoke the method with proper values. What mechanism? Unbelievable. I don't know how many of you get it, but slowly you'll get it. Understood? So this is how they have designed the language. Beautiful it is. Any questions here? So that's why we say exception handling mechanism of Java is what? Excellent and brilliant. No words to explain this. Understood? Any questions here? Any questions? Yes. And why you are finding little difficult to understand? Because you don't know compilation errors only. To understand compilation errors, you have taken how many days? Now where you will understand runtime errors? And you are not coded. Coding is one more reason. Where you are coding? Class will come, sit and go. Sir is typing and showing everything. You code, you will feel it. Understood? That's how you learn actually. So actually why am I typing and showing is for you to understand how you code. Nobody shows you this. Every file I open and show, I am showing you exactly this is how you code Java, this is how you code Java. Who will teach you Java like this? Step by step. You are not taking benefit of that. Ulta, what you will do? Advantage you will take. What advantage? I know Java. Now see what is happening. Clear? Fine. Any questions here? Any questions? Coding is highly mandatory. Which trainer will show you this much, man? You show me. Go anywhere. Anyway, going throughout your life, you'll be coding now. You'll see all this. So there are no shortcut routes in Java. Only hard work can save you here, because we are going to use the library and you should know how to use the library. Very clearly they tell, you call this method, this is the result it will give you. But if you call this method with wrong value, this is the exception might occur. So be careful. Full story it will tell you. Understood? And if you got the libraries and how to search in the library, in control. See, one more thing. If you have got the screen, now you want to know one class name. I'll show you some shortcuts. You have got the screen now. Which one? Here you. This is the document. You type Control F here. Control F. You'll get on search option there on the top. Type now. ARITH. You want to know some information about what? Arithmetic exception. Arithmetic exception. Actually, it should give you. It should start giving you the list. It will start giving the drop down only actually. Now we are on net actually. Better you put it on local systems, it will show you very clearly. One second. I have added it to favorites now. Yeah, we have added it. 1 second. Okay, I'll show you that. If you type there now automatically that ARI, it will give the list. You can select your class name there itself. And you can see the members. What it is, it's a subclass of what, full hierarchy you can start seeing now. So we are using Java at its the best level. Clear? Fine. Now, what is throw? Simple. Throw is a keyword used to deliberately create an exception object inside a method. Execution stops immediately after the throw statement and any subsequent statements are not executed. That is what we want. Any subsequent statements are not executed below the throw keyword. If you write it also you get an error. See here. Which one? Throw, no? Yeah. See, I'll write. Supposing you try to write, it will give you what? Unreachable code error. Else is okay. Unconditionally it will execute. But you can't use below throw any statement. If catch block is present in the same method, then it will be caught. If catch block is not present, then that exception object is thrown to the caller method. If it is not present. Throw keyword can be used only with what? Subclasses of throwable and not with non-subclasses of throwable like string, system, etc. Clear? Fine. So that's about throw keyword. So practice, it's mandatory. It's not like your college now. In college you used to sit for 1 hour, or in other institutes what they do. See, nobody teach you exception handling to this level what I'm taking now. Okay, hardly one simple example they'll tell and they'll finish it off. They'll teach you only spelling. On board they'll write what? Exception handling. And what will you do? In your pamphlet you'll put tick mark over. They'll not even explain to you. Understood? But subject is like this and you have to learn this. There's no other option for you. Clear? And there's no shortcut for getting job. All these are definitely asked in interview. So are you clear with the 5 keywords now? What? Try, catch, finally, throws, throw. Okay. So finally I'll try to show you how to write one method now. Simple method. Generally. See, your method, when you write a method now, you might have 2 options. One, you might use a resource. One, you might not use a resource. Don't think in all your methods you'll use a resource. If you use a resource, I'll show you how to write the code. See class, this is if you use resource. Generally I'm giving you an idea, rough idea now. If you use resource in your method, see this is how you'll write. Class, hello, getting it? See this, void m1. You might have parameters, that is secondary, but see this. You'll write try. Understood? If incorrect values, you'll check like how you check now. If incorrect values, what do you do? Throw new exception. Yes or no? You'll stop the execution. Else what will you do? Initialize the resource. Yes or no? Use the resource. But if an exception occurs, you should not handle it here. So what will you do? See, you have to close it. Where will I close it? Finally, close the resource. This is on just a template and how you write methods. Understood? And I am saying throw here, but here I should write what? Throws. Yes, now you are understanding. This is how you write a method. Throws, exception. So how many keywords I used? Try, throw, catch, where I am using? Finally. So adena ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ throws. Understood? So when in a method you write like in the caller you will write what? Try, catch. Catch will be generally written in caller. This is with resource. But sometimes if you are not using resource, if you are not using resource in your method, so how will you write your class or how will you write your method? See this, class hello m1 method. So when there is no resource, why do you want try finally? Yes or no? Try finally is not required because finally is used for closing generally resources. Okay, or anything you want to execute desperately, then write this way. Otherwise just write simple logic. If incorrect values, what will you do? Throw a new exception. Else execute. That's it. Don't write try also, don't write finally also. If exception occurs, what happens? Here also while executing some exception occurs, it will come back to you only. That's it. Any class you take, any method you take, this is how they write almost all. So now see, I am not used try finally there. Did I use? So no. And I have shown you this method. Just now I showed you. If x is equal to 0, throw. Else I was dividing now. Did I use try finally there? I didn't use it. If I had resource, I would have written like this. Clear? Any questions, sir? And throw exception you told. Sorry, here you complete it. Throws. Exception. Here also some more exceptions might occur here. This also you have to add it into the list. Here you are throwing your exception. Here also while executing some other exception might occur. That also you will give it back. Like arithmetic exception might occur. Array index auto point might occur. All that you can put it into the list. So when you write logics, you will definitely understand all this. Yeah? Practice. Yeah? So this is the one I just showed you. Which one? That side. Clear this? So this is the difference. If you are using resource, if you are not using resource. Understanding how to use this. So I covered 5 keywords now in exception handling. Clear? So one keyword. They are so intense. Every keyword is so intense. Some are very simple. Which one? You know, extends. Extends is very simple, no? What inheritance? Class B extends here. Correct? Some are very simple. Int. Yes, sir? Now you are only laughing. So they are all terrific keywords. You take so much of time to understand. To understand keywords only minimum you take 2 to 2.5 months. Then you will start understanding the library. Understood? So this much is there. This is the subject actually. So to understand the subject you have to put this much of effort and learn it properly. Then in your lifetime you will not touch any book. Otherwise every day what? Tomorrow morning interview, start reading. So I am putting it in such a concrete way that even after 3 years you will not touch any books. Or 5 years or 6 years. Okay, so for learning that much, hardly your effort is what? 1 extra month. 1 month you put effort, in your lifetime you are not going to touch what? All this silly subject. That is the input I am giving to you. Clear this? Any questions? Okay, fine. So still, some more topics are there. So now, we'll see there are so many exceptions. They'll ask you in interview, what are the different types of exception? For that your answer should be checked and unchecked exceptions. This is one very important. Now we'll come back to each one. All the 5 keywords we completed. Now we'll come back to the differences between checked and unchecked exceptions. And this is a big subject. Which one? Checked and unchecked exceptions is a big subject. I'll complete it in a short time now. And as we go on coding now, as I showed you the built-in exceptions, you'll only start understanding it when you start using it. Okay. So how many types of exceptions are there in Java? 2. Checked and unchecked. Okay, that is the interview answer. But for you, I'll tell you one more information. Just understand this. You can classify it in 2 ways. So classification can be done in 2 ways. Means classification of exceptions can be done in 2 ways. One classification is who is means based on the provider of the exception class. One is based on the provider of the exception class. What do you mean by provider? Who is giving you that exception class? Whether Sun is giving it to you or language is giving it to you, or you can also write one. I'll show you now how to write user defined exceptions. Okay, one is called as built-in exceptions. What are built-in exceptions? Just now you saw examples: array index, out of bound, number format, all that. Second one would be what? User defined exceptions. User defined exceptions means what? We write. So why we write, I'll show you with an example only. I'll show you how to write it. I'll show you with an example. Okay, that is one way you can classify. Now other way is based on whether the exception is checked by compiler or not. Other classification, the second classification would be, one is based on the provider of the exception class. Another classification is there based on the whether the exception is checked by the compiler or not. Again you can classify it into what? Checked and unchecked. Checked exception and unchecked exception. These are the two classifications. Remember, whether it is your, now I'll see it like this. Even if it is built-in exception, it will be what? Checked or unchecked. Even if it is user-defined exception, it will be checked or unchecked. So any exception you take, either it will be checked or unchecked. But finally all are extending what? Exception. This is the hierarchy tree. Are you clear? Fine. So one is built-in exception, the second one would be user-defined exception. So you saw built-in exceptions. Which are they? Number format, array index, out of bound, array index, out of bound. They are all subclasses of what? Runtime exception. They are all subclasses of you see in the hierarchy tree I gave you. They are all subclasses of runtime exception. Till now we have not seen built-in classes which are checked exceptions. I'll be showing you. But some of them are IO exception, SQL exception, class not found exception. These are all checked exceptions. Checked. They are checked by the compiler. So since you have not seen them, it's little confusing for you to understand now. Later on, as I go on using them, you will become very clear with it. That you don't have to worry. But all built-in exceptions are classified into what? Either checked or unchecked now. Similarly, when you write your user-defined exception, you can also make it as checked or unchecked. That's it. So how will you write? Class my exception. Any name you want, you can give. Extends. If you say extends exception, what happens? It becomes what? Checked exception. Understood? This is becoming checked exception. If you want to write unchecked exception, what will you do? Class my exception extends runtime exception. And in projects also I'll be very clearly showing you all this. Clear? In projects also I'll be writing user defined. I'll explain one scenario and I'll write on user defined exception. You'll understand it very clear. Are you clear with this too? Okay. So fine. So if you are clear with this much, let's see how to write one user defined exception. So these are the two classifications. These are the two ways you can classify it. But in interview, never tell built-in and user-defined. In interview, what you have to tell? So you can classify it like this. But interviewer expects the answer to be what? Checked and unchecked. That only you tell. Understood? This is why your understanding I wrote. Clear? Now assuming that, see, the user is giving some value in the UI. Okay, we'll be having some database like this. In the database, assume that there's one class and there are around 50 students in the class. Just one simple scenario I'm taking. Or there's one company, there are 50 employees in the company. Something like that. So you have stored all the information of the 50 people in the database. We're storing it. Okay. Now, the user you'll have the screen now. You'll be asking him enter ID, and he'll submit. So once he enters the ID and submits it, what is your logic now? You're right. You have to connect to database. This is common now in any application you take. This is a common story now. Let it be a banking application, let it be an employee application, any application you take. Once the ID is given, what you should do? Go to the database, get the values, display it to the user. This is the request. So you have to give him all the details. Hello, user, your name is. So we are starting to write logics now very shortly. Okay, your name is, your date of birth is, all the story will tell. Whatever your phone number is, your address is, whatever you want, you can display it. Now in the database there are only 50 people and ID starts from 51 and ends at 50. So user can give any value here. Yes or no? I'll tell him very clearly, please enter ID between 1 and 50. But what will he do? 51 only will enter. 60 only will enter. You know, no. Till now you have coded like that only. If I tell you do like this, what will you do? I'll do like that. Let me see what happens. Same way, when you educated people are going to do like that, think about a uneducated person. He might do it deliberately. See, uneducated person might do it unknowingly. Educated person will do it knowingly. So it is going to come now. Okay, if uneducated person uses your application also, invalid value will come. He doesn't know English now. Uneducated means what? Let's take educated, he is Chinese. He doesn't know English now. So what will he do? There are many people who don't know English. So ask him to enter ID. He doesn't know what it is. Simply he'll keep the cursor here, he'll enter 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, like you do it in calculator. It's very clearly mentioned, please enter values between 1 and 50. He's not even bothered to read it. He'll enter the value, submit. Now, for 235, is there any, for 235 ID, do you have any record here? No, no. Yes or no? So anyway, when the value comes, what is the logic you have to write? Connect to database and all that. So assuming that, I have written that logic in M1 method. Assuming that. Okay. So there is a class called as student. So you will not write all the logic in main. You will not write all the logic in main. Where will you write all the logic? In some other method. So assuming that there is a class called as student. In this student method, there is an ID. Int ID is the parameter. Okay. So here you will write the code now. If you have to write the code like this. If ID is less than 50, let it connect to database, fetch all the values, display. Otherwise, stop the execution now. Or if ID is greater than 50, throw exception, throw a new exception. Yes or no? Else, execute the logic. Means connect to database. So many times like this, you will want to create what? Exceptions. So throw will be used highly. Too many times you'll be using throw. Values are correct, fine, else you'll stop the execution. But fine, you're saying throw. Throw, which exception will you throw here? Array index out of bound? Arithmetic? No, it's not suitable. So generally what we do, we write user defined exceptions. Understanding now? Yes. Now once you throw, you know the story now. Once you throw, you know the story, what will happen? Either you can catch it in the same method or you can give it to the caller method. So I will not write try catcher. Instead what will I do? I will give it to the caller. Who? Main method. What will the main method do? It will catch it, ask the user to enter again. Please enter proper value. On message it will display and again he will enter the correct value, it will execute. That is the process. Understood? So like this we end up writing applications. So when you write an application, there more clearly you will understand how you do exception handling. So exception handling when you are learning in language looks different. When you are going to use it in a project it looks different. Understood? So very clearly you will understand that. Okay. So theory means from the language point of view we have completed successfully. But practical implementation point of view we have to study exception handling. Practical in applications, in projects, how you do it and all that. Fine, we will study it. So anyway, I'll just show you this logic now. Are you clear with this? Are you clear? Do you have any questions here? So I have to write on user defined exception now. If you want to write a user defined exception, what will you do now? Either you have to write extend exception, that's it. Either you write exception or extend runtime. Your class is ready. But in our class we will store some information. I'll show you. So that is when if you want to store some information in your class, what will you write? Some instance variable, some constructor, and if you want, you can override toString to display some message. That all is optional. And you can do it. Why? You will only understand. When I show you the example, you will only understand why we have an instance variable, why we write a constructor, why we override the toString method and all that, you'll start understanding it. Clear with all this? So we'll see now how to write user defined exceptions. So you are almost all reaching a stage where we have to develop applications. Get ready fast. Java is getting over. Once I complete database, your coding will start. See, this is how you write it. You can give any name, but it is extending what? Exception. So it becomes a checked exception. I show you now how the checked and unchecked behave. You start understanding now. Yeah. So message means, see, I'm just having on instance variable because every object will have some information. So that's why I told some information I'm having on instance variable. I'm having on constructor. What will the constructor do? It will accept on ID as an argument, means int as an argument, and it will build on string. Student ID number, whatever value you are given, 235 or something is invalid, something like that. And in toString, what will I do? I'll return the message. Like this you can write it. See, these are optional. If you want to store information, if you want to display some message and all, you can do all this. And generally you will be doing this. Even though it's optional, generally you will be doing all this. Otherwise, how will you come to know what is the message? Understood? So I'll do this. Fine. Now what will I do? See, this syntax you know now. If int id, see now, it throws what? Coming to throw later, we'll see it. If id is less than 50, fine, it should execute. It is valid and you'll connect to database and you'll do all that. Don't worry about logic, we'll do it. Else what will I do? I'm stopping the execution. Yes or no? I don't want the program to continue further. Yes. So I'm saying throw here. But check this out. Here, now you'll understand. If I don't write throws, see what happens. Start getting the error. Reason is, it is a checked exception. So till now, in your methods, unchecked exceptions are occurring. That's why it was not bothered. But now, it will force you. It says, handle it or write throws. You either handle it or give it to the caller. It will force you. Compiler will force you. Okay. So if you want to check this out, I'll extend now. Which one? Now the error will go. Understood? So if it is checked exception, you are forced to do what? Either write try catch or you are forced to write throws. Okay, if it is unchecked exception, you are not forced to. Either if you want, you write try catch or don't write throws. That's your wish. It will not force you. If it is checked exception, compiler will force you. Now how does compiler know? Compiler knows very well. Yours is subclass of what? Runtime. It will not report any error. Okay. Anyway, first I'll show you what? Checked only I'll show you. Then I'll come back to, first I'll show you the output. Then we'll discuss about what? Checked and unchecked. First I'll show you the output. Then we'll come to that topic. And now see, since it is extending exception, I have to write what? Throws is mandatory now. And see this. I am sending a value of 76. Just see this. So obviously what will happen? Exception occurs. So which exception I created? Student not found. What is the argument I am sending? ID. Now what happens? ID is nothing but what? What is the value I am given? 76. So this value will come here now. So and finally this string message is created. That is stored where? MSG. So if I print SOP after catching it, if I print it, it will print that message to me. Which message? Student ID number. That's why you override toString. So overriding toString becomes very, very crucial in most of the classes. Whenever you want to display some message, otherwise it will print what? Address. Are you following now? A very simple example. See this output. Don't bother about fixing errors and all. Just see how you write user defined exceptions. If you want, you can fix the error here. What? Call the method with what? A value less than 50. That you don't bother now. Just see how the flow happens now. It is not valid. It says it is not valid. You called 76 and you send it with 76. Then what happened? Exception occurred. Where it occurred? Here. So comes back, you are catching it and inside catch. So it's printing inside catch and your message SOPE. If you don't override the E, what will happen? toString, you will see some other thing, message. So that's why you override it. Clear? Are you clear this flow? If I send a correct value, what happens? 16. That's it. Are you clear? So you understood why you write user-defined exceptions? You'll be doing it. You'll be doing it in projects. You'll understand it. But it is possible to write a user-defined exception. Okay. Because here, if I say throw new arithmetic exception, will it look good? Understood? So generally, throw keyword. Generally, I'm telling you. Generally, throw keyword will be not always, but maximum times throw keyword will be used with what? User-defined exceptions. Maximum times throw keyword will be used with user-defined exceptions. Clear? Previous example I used it with built-in exception, which one? Throw new arithmetic exception I told. Okay, there also it is incorrect. I should have created an user-defined exception like this, and I should have, like example, invalid value exception. In the previous example, what I did? Throw. See, if x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0, what I should have told? I could have written on user-defined now and written what? Something like invalid value exception. You write your own class and tell it is, give the message to the user. So many times throw keyword will be used with what? User-defined exceptions, not with built-in. Okay, but if you are interested, you can use it. Throw keyword can be used with what? Any subclass of throwable. You can use it. Clear? Fine. So now let's come back to our program itself. Yeah. Are you clear this much now? The flow is clear? Fine. Now let's talk about what? Checked and unchecked. Let's talk about checked and unchecked. See, now first I'll show you unchecked exception. First I'll show you what? Unchecked, because you have till now worked with unchecked exceptions only. You'll understand it very fast now. So I'll make this as what? Runtime exception. Fine. Now I'll not write try catch here. Where? In this method called as check student. Check student is a method name. In this method name check student, okay, you'll not write m1 m2 later. You write good methods like this. Understood? Fine. You are writing, and here I am saying throw, but am I writing try catch here? No. And even in main method, if you don't write try catch, no issue. You don't have to write try catch anywhere, because if it occurs from here, it will come to what? Implicitly it will come to main. There also, if you are not handling, implicitly it will go to what? JV. See this. You are very comfortable with unchecked exceptions. Only since checked exception, it is printing. Who is printing now? JVM. JVM has got it and it's printing that. ToString method is getting executed. See here, anywhere. Did I handle it anywhere? I'll put one thing. I'll do one thing. I'll write end main. Here, in the last I'll put end main. You can see this output will not be there. It's getting executed. You are catching it. Okay, exception is not occurring in fact. One second, I'll give a value 56. Now you see. See exception where it occurred. See main called check student. So line number, all that story you know now. It will see it is. This is the file name. User defined exception demo.java is the file name. In this file, 41 is the line number. In this file only it called 29. So all that trace it will give you, and at the same time your message is there. Student ID number 65 is not valid. Because I did not handle it, it went to the default handler of the JVM. But nowhere I was forced to write what? Try catch or throws. So if it is a subclass of, means if it is an unchecked exception, or if it is a subclass of runtime exception, you are nowhere forced to write what? Try catch or throws. Nowhere. Even in the same method or in the caller method or in the next caller. Understood? Supposingly an unchecked exception is occurring somewhere, main is calling M1, M1 is calling M2, M2 is calling M3. This is the chain now. Look at the chain. Main calls what? Main will call M1. M1 will call M2. M2 will call M3. Supposingly an unchecked exception is occurring where? M3. It will not force you to write try catch in M3 also or write throws also. Similarly in M2, you are not forced to write what? Try catch here also, throws also. Here also you are not forced. Here also you are not forced. Nowhere you are forced to write what? Try catch or throws. If it is unchecked. Understood? But if it is checked, look at the scenario. Here also it will force. If you, it will ask you to write either try catch or throws in M3. Okay, if you write try catch, fine. But generally you will not write it. What will you do? Throws. Now in M2 also, if you are calling that method, what it will do? Write throws for M2 also, or write try catch also it will tell. Again in M1, if you supposing I write throws here, fine, it will compile. Now in M2 also, I will write throws only. And M3, M1 also, I will write. So everywhere you are forced to write what? Either try catch or throws. So either first see here, in M3 you write try catch or you write throws. If you write throws, in M2 it will come now. So you are calling M2 in what? M3 in where? You are calling M2 in M3. You are calling M2 in M3. So you are calling M2 in M3. In M3, see, this is how you will call. You are calling your M2 na? Let me put it to you very clear. If it is checked now, I am moving to say, are you clear with unchecked? I will go to a check now. See this. So assuming that, yeah, main, I'll build the stack like this. Main is called what? M1. Now M1, it can be in the same class or different class, that is secondary now. Now M1 is called what? M2. Now M2 is called what? M3. So this is M3. Where is the exception getting occurred? Here. What type of exception it is? Checked exception. So if it is checked exception occurring here, you will be forced to write what here? Try, catch or throws. Two options you have got. You are forced, otherwise compiler will not compile only. So if I write try catcher, fine, but we don't do it. Why we don't do it? We cannot fix the problem. If you catch the exception in the same method, you cannot fix it. We have to give it, you know the rule. We have to give it to what? The main caller. So I will not write try catcher, but instead I will write what? Throws. Throws exception or something I will write. Now, where are you calling M2 now? Sorry, M3 in M2. So again, you have to write try catch for this because it's coming to you. Compiler will not leave you only. So you are forced to write what here? Try catch. Here means M3 should be in try. M3 should be where? In try. And then you can catch it. Or option is throws here. So like this you have to write everywhere now. If it is a checked. So anyway, again we will not write it here. Now it will come where? M1. So because the caller of M2 is what? M1. So once it is here, what will you do? Either again you have to write try catch or you have to write throws. So here also you will write throws. So now finally it will come to main. In main what you have to do? You have to write either try catch or throws. Here no throws. If you say throws, your program will collapse. So here you have to write try catch and you fix the error. So this is all. But the concept is, if it is checked exception, everywhere it will be forcing you to write what? Write try catch or throws. Write try catch or throws. So you have to acknowledge it. Either by writing try catch or throws. So it goes on. Are you clear with this? So more examples here on checked exceptions, you'll start understanding this. So this concept I'll show you now. I show it in only two methods. You understand there itself. Clear? Are you clear with this concept now? Clear now? So you are forced. If you make it as checked exception, you are forced. Now, let's see this. So everywhere you'll go on writing throws, throws, throws. Finally you'll make it as what? Try catch. In the main caller you'll make it as try catch. So what I'll do now is, I'll make class student not found exception. You can give any name, but see, for your user defined exceptions, you can give it as A also. Class A works, but it should extend what? Exception. But see to that the suffix is there, so that you'll have clarity. Only for clarity purpose we add the suffix as exception. Okay, are you clear? So fine, extends what I'll do now? Exception. Now what I'll do? Throw. You are writing throw now. So what I should do here? One option, just show you. You have to write. So you are getting the error now. Okay, R, 1 second. So is this the compilation has gone now? No? Yes or no? The compilation error has gone now. So means it's forcing you because it is checked exception. So I am writing try catcher. But will you write try catch inside the same method? You know that very well, you will not do it. But error has gone now. Error has gone away. So we will not do it. So what we do? We will be doing throws. But it's forcing you to either write try catch. See, the error went away. So when the error went away, what will I do now? I remove try catch now. So I am writing what? If I remove try catch, I'll still get the error. So this time what will I do? I'll write throws. Fine, there the error goes away. But now let's come down. See where the error will be there. I'll not call it inside which one now? I'm calling that method where now? In main. I'm calling this method now. Where am I calling this? In main method. Here also it's forcing me. What? Write try catch or throws. See, I'll write throws here. It will go away. But here you are not supposed to do it. Why? Because your program will terminate. Throws. But see, I'll just remove the error. Student, it's gone now. So like this, in the caller also you have to acknowledge by writing try catch or throws. So in the caller method, what you want to do, you decide. If it is the immediate caller, we write throws. Okay, immediate caller, we write throws. Okay, but if it is the final main caller, we write try catch. Are you following now? So everywhere it goes on, forcing you to write what? So we will do this now. See, here it goes away now. Is the error coming now? No. So it forces you like this. Understood? So I'll use more checked exceptions, you'll understand. This is the first one you are seeing here. Clear? So any questions you're having now? No questions? Good. So now see. Classification of exceptions. We can classify exceptions into two types based on the provider of the exception class or that is built-in and user-defined. What are built-in are all exception classes provided by Java, Sun. Built user-defined exceptions. They are all exception classes written by developer. Now again, exceptions can be classified into two types, whether based on whether it is compiled, whether it's checked by compiler or not. Okay. So checked and unchecked. These are the two types of exception. Note here, this is the most important note. All built-in or user-defined exceptions are either checked or unchecked exceptions. Fine. Now next, how to write user-defined exception? This is your interview question. This is your interview question. How means you understood now? See in the interview, how many types of exception? Give this answer. Don't give this. That's one interview question. The next interview question is how to write user-defined exception is the answer. Third, what is the difference between checked and unchecked? I have clearly classified it in table. Slowly you'll get more clear idea on this because hardly you are seeing the library. Understood? Hardly you are seeing the library. So more you start using it, you'll get the clear idea. But from interview point, you can tell these points. They are subclasses of exception. Which one? Checked. These are subclasses of runtime exception. Now they are checked by compiler. Which one? Checked exceptions are checked by compiler. They are not checked by compiler whether you are handling or not. Understood? This is checked by the compiler whether you are handling or not. That is not checked by the compiler whether you are handling or not. Now these force the developer to write what? Either try catch or throws. This will not force you anything. Do whatever you want, it says. Clear? They are also called as what? Caught exceptions. These are also called as uncaught exceptions. One more name. And definitely in interview they'll ask you, give 5 examples for checked exceptions and give 5 examples for unchecked exceptions. They are all class names. You can notice. Clear? Interview they'll ask you. Finally you understood everything. But the question is, when will I decide to make a checked or unchecked exception? This comes with experience. Sometimes when you are writing exception, no? Okay. You will have to decide whether to make it as checked or unchecked, but you will get it with experience. But one simple reason would be, see this, if you want to force the caller of your method, to be aware and guard about the exception which might occur in your callee method, then write a checked exception. From interview point of view, you tell this much point, you will clear it. If you want the caller method not to be aware or guard against the exception in your callee method, then write an unchecked exception. As simple as this. All I have documented. So just 5 to 6 pages are there. If you complete this much, exception handling is nearly done. Are you clear? Fine. So this completes exception handling. Still some more topics are there. Some more examples. I'll give it to you. I think tomorrow I'll do it. Okay. But little before I cover it, I'll complete off errors today. Some more final touches have to be given to exception handling. I know some doubts are there. I'll be clearing it tomorrow. Okay. But before I go to that, I'll conclude today's class. I'll complete off something called as error. What is error? Understood? Yeah. See, exceptions can be handled. You know that. Fine. Now see this. Let's come to an example here. There's a class called as demo. Okay. It will contain M1 method. M1 method. I'll compile, and this is saved in the file called as what? Demo.java. Demo.java file, you have saved it. After saving it, now what will you do? You will compile it. I'm just giving an example for what? Error. So demo.class is generated. Now I'll type Java. I'm executing now in the DOS prompt. Hello. What happens? Java command will start the JVM. See, this will process. Java command will start the JVM. Now it is looking for what? Hello.class file. Is there hello.class? No. So JVM has started. It's trying to load hello.class, but it does not find it. So immediately it is terminating, but it's clearly giving you the message telling what? No class definition found error. It clearly tells you the message, and it is giving you the reason why your program got terminated. But now it is told error. It has told error. So there is no point of fixing it. The only way you can fix it is what? Can I write try catch now? In catch block, can I write the code to generate hello.class? If you want to fix, this is the only solution, but it's all ruled out solution. If at all you want to handle it, how will you handle it? I have to write try, I have to write catch. In catch, what I should write? Dynamically I have to generate what? Hello.class. All this is ruled out. So this gives you error. So errors cannot be handled. Fine. So by chance, if I say Java hello, what is the error I get? No class definition found error. You have seen this error many times. No Java hello will give you no class definition found error. Fact is, this is also a class, built-in class. An object of this class is created, and it is a subclass of what? Error class. Neatly organized. Java is so beautifully organized. Every time your program terminates, it gives you the message why it's getting terminated. And on top of that, it has classified. This is exception, this is error. What more luxury do you need? In C program and all, when your program terminates, what? Full wage. Smoke. Why it terminated, God knows. Here you are getting messages. And in spite of that, you have doubts, means really wonder. Understood? So anyway, this is how it works. Fine, because hello.class is not there. But now next, I'll type Java demo. What happens? JVM will start. Demo.class is loaded. But in that class, what happens? Main method is not there. So what happens? You get the error. No such method error. No such method error you will get. So that is also on class. So every time a problem occurs, what happens? One object gets created representing the error. So Java has got beautiful built-in classes for every error which is occurring. So you get the object now created, which is the error. No such method error. And again it's a class. So this object gets created this time. Anytime an error occurs, runtime, this is runtime error now. This cannot be detected by compiler, both. How will compiler detect? Compiler, when you compile it, checks what? Only syntax. Perfectly valid syntax. So these are errors which are occurring at runtime. So these are runtime errors. But can they be handled? No. Okay, and you don't have to bother now. When your program is getting terminated, whether it can be handled or not, it itself, JVM itself is giving the message. This is error, this is exception. Are you following? So errors means you cannot handle. Now if you want to really handle this, what you should do? No. Either you have to write try catch. In catch you have to write one generate main method dynamically inside the class. All that is ruled out then. So we can't write. So the only way you can solve errors is what? Proper coding. These are runtime errors which have to be solved with proper coding. Means you write, to solve this error, what you should do? Write a class called as what? Hello. To solve this error, what you should do? Write main method. So you have to change the code. Understood? So errors have to be solved by proper coding only. You cannot handle it. Fine. More errors. You know stack overflow error, out of memory error. What are they? Stack overflow error is related to what? When too many classes are loaded into the stack, different classes. You know why it is getting caused? Stack overflow error. So if you, supposing you start executing a program, or too many different classes will get loaded into the JVM. So once they are loaded into the JVM, the stack will be full, and suddenly out of stack overflow error will occur. Stack overflow error. Understood? When stack overflow error occurs, dynamically can you handle it? Your program will terminate. The only way if you want to handle it is what? Catch it and generate memory. I'm telling you, these are logically how you have to solve it. But is it possible now? Are all these things possible? No. The only solution to this is what? Either you load less number of classes or increase the capacity of your hardware. Increase the RAM. So like this you have to do. Similarly, out of memory error, what happens? When too many objects are created in the heap and they are all referenced, but too many objects are getting created, that time what happens? Out of memory error will occur. We have discussed this now in garbage collector, all that time. So this was the error. See this, I am talking about all errors now. Come to that side. So what will happen now? They are all classes. See, you know inheritance. Now see, correct? Huh? So they are all classes. So which object gets created? So these errors, they can never be handled. And here there is no classification. Simply I have written these are all subclasses of what? Error. Only in exception you have got something called as checked and unchecked. Clear this? So you cannot handle compilation errors, and these errors also you cannot handle. Only exceptions you can handle. Understood? So that's the first big first drawing what I gave you. There are two types of errors in programming. When you program, you get what? Two errors. One compilation error, runtime error. Yes? Under runtime errors which you can handle are called as what? Exception. Which you cannot handle are called as errors. It is very clearly told. Now what you can handle, what you cannot handle, you don't have to bother here. JVM itself will give the message. This you can handle, this you cannot handle. Yes or no? In C will you get a message? But here it's neatly organized. So that is a brilliant feature of Java. Clear this? Any question here? Okay. So some few interview questions are there. Some more topics are there. Tomorrow I'll cover it. So tomorrow exception handle will be over. Clear? Any questions, sir? That's it.